And welcome back to this Dialogue Web Extra. I'm Marcia Franklin. I'm here with 3 members of the Trey McIntyre Project, a dance group in Boise, Idaho that's changing lives all over the world, though, not just here. They're on their way to Italy soon, and next year you're going to be going to Asia, right?
Yes.
As part of a Department of State ambassadorship program representing the United States. Talk a little bit about that. There's only 4 groups that were chosen, as I understand. Is that correct?
And this is a huge initiative for the State Department, and really something that Secretary Clinton has put a lot of effort into: cultural diplomacy, reaching other nations through our art. So they picked 4 American dance companies representing different styles of American dance: break dance, tap, modern dance, and ballet. So we were selected as the contemporary ballet offering. We'll be going to China, South Korea, Vietnam, and the Philippines in spring 2012. And then one thing that was just recently announced, which is that we're the only company of the 4 that has been asked, Trey's been asked to select an Asian dance company. We'll bring them back here to Boise, Idaho, create a collaborative work on them, which will premiere at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York in fall 2012, and then hopefully we'll have a chance to perform it here in Boise as well. So it's going to be this huge, culmination of this cultural exchange, is to create a work on an Asian dance company and TMP together.
How will you choose that company? Just in the course of your travels, maybe one will pop out to you?
Yeah, it's the best possible way to actually find a collaborator, is to go into this different culture and be in that environment and just see who we mesh with, and what company would be a nice complement to what we do.
Well, that leads me to ask you, how do you choose your own dancers for your own company? George Balanchine, I wrote down a quote from him. He says, what do I look for in a dancer? I don't want people who want to dance. I want people who have to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's one aspect. You want somebody with the passion.
Sure.
But what else are you looking for when you say choose Ashley and put all the effort that you did into making sure that she could come from Canada to work with you?
I think the criteria for this company is unique. First, of course, they have to be of a very high caliber in terms of technique and an interesting movement quality. That's just kind of the base for it. Beyond that, there's a pretty intensive interview process. They have to be the right kind of person. I ask a lot of these dancers, and they have to be brave and curious, and they have to be open enough that they can move to Boise, Idaho, and have this adventure. And not all dancers would do that.
What about body type?
Forget it. It's not really an important thing. Physical facility, there are certain things that make ballet itself easier, but I'm much more interested in actually what a person brings to what they're doing. And if you look at the company, it's an array of body types, and I think that's actually something that we're known for and audiences appreciate.
Now, you've talked about the fact that great art is a journey into the unknown, and that sometimes when you choreograph, there's pain involved. There's emotional pain as things come up. Talk about how you work through that and then incorporate that into the positive aspect of dance, of a dance that comes out of that emotion.
It's about being present and being honest who you are in any given day. As a choreographer, I can't be so married to one agenda that I am working from a place on a particular day where I'm not. And it's the same thing for how a dancer might perform on stage. There is a very specific construct that's created as the choreography that they work within, and there's a lot of specificity and detail that's important. But every time a dancer shows up in a theater, they are a remarkably different person, and they have to have the room and the license to be able to explore within that in each particular performance.
But going back to the sense of emotion and sometimes pain, is that because you've remarked on that before? Is that because you're remembering things that happened in your life and channeling them through dance, or is it emotions that are coming to you that day?
Yeah, I think it actually vibrates on a level even deeper than that it wouldn't be even as tangible as a memory. It's that, I try to really draw directly from the subconscious. I try to get out of the way of whatever. It just, it's something that seems to already exist. I feel like a dance is back over here somewhere behind me, and if I could just get my own ego and my own judgment out of the way and just let it come out, that would be the most perfect piece of choreography.
And it could be from just being present and looking around you, as you did with New Orleans, or...
Well, it's interesting when you talk about the 2 different pieces from New Orleans. One is really focused on death, the other is really focused on pleasure. But what I found out in the end was that one really can't exist without the other. There's a positive and a negative to pretty much every experience that we have, and we can't have a pleasurable experience without knowing the pain of that our life will end at some point. So, I think it's not a black and white process. There's so much gray involved in it.
So you mentioned that the group was chosen by the Department of State as the kind of what did you say, modern ballet or something?
Contemporary ballet.
Contemporary ballet, but I don't know that people think of you as a ballet company. Do you attach a label to your form of dance?
I go back and forth about that because it's definitely a contemporary company, and I think it exists outside the realm of what most people would consider ballet, but we are very much grounded in this idea of ballet technique, and that there is a science to figuring out an imperfect instrument in the human
right.
body.
We saw bar work earlier.
Yeah,
so.
it's a way of being articulate, really, in the end. Yeah.
I really feel that when people look back on this era in American dance, they will look at what Trey was creating, and there'll eventually be a new title for it. Contemporary ballet was a title that evolved out of the late 80s and early 90s when someone took ballet and sort of took it off point. You know, that your weight was in a different place, and like choreographers like William Forsythe were doing new things. We've kind of had that label now for...
Well, modern dance is what I always called it, not contemporary ballet.
Well, modern dance is Martha Graham and Merce Cunningham and Paul Taylor, and that had a certain era, and it still exists, and contemporary ballet still exists. What Trey's doing, I believe, is definitely a new evolution, and I think some critic or historian will eventually coin it in a new way.
And how do you feel as a dancer when you're channeling or working with Trey and whatever his emotions are coming through you, and then also having your own emotions? Or what if you decide that it's uncomfortable for you, or you need to change something about what you're being asked to do? How does that process work?
I think that initially it's the physical idea that he's trying to get through to us. And speaking of how we're rooted in ballet, I feel like when we try to pick up a step, our bodies already know the technique of doing so, and that's where our technique comes in. Emotionally, I think all humans have similar emotions. You know, if he's experiencing grief and that resonates as grief with me, that's how I'll have it. But if I'm in a very different place emotionally, it could turn into something else. I think that's, though, what audience connect with. You know, audience won't connect that I'm doing a triple pirouette, and so can they, because they can, and it's not what they do, but they can connect with how we're feeling. And I think the special part of TMP is that we are actually feeling that. You know, at no point are we asked to smile and be joyful. If we are joyful, that's great, and that's what the work is going to be. But I think that's the authentic part of it that audiences really connect with.
I have to ask you, because I've been an aficionado of dance my whole life, and in part because I can't do what you do. I live through it, right? So it actually makes me even a little emotional thinking about it, because you get to move your bodies in ways that other people, we're bound by gravity unless we're on a trampoline. What does it feel like to just be able to say, I'm going to, do a triple pirouette and not fall down of dizziness, or do a jump through the air and fly for a moment?
It's always really nice to hear your perspective, because it reminds me, oh yeah, it is really great what we get to do. I think we don't take it for granted, but our life is using our bodies is what we do every day. So Ashley and I just took a ballet class. We just ran a whole ballet. Then we came here. We're about to go back to the studio and run another 3 ballets. But that's our life. So sometimes you lose sight of, wow, it is pretty amazing what we're getting to do. And we're getting to perform for over 100,000 people a year all around the world. And we're getting to impact the way people feel and how they live. So it's outstanding. But it's a life of discipline. And it's a life that started when we were all very young and said, this is what we want to do.
And how does it feel for you? I mean, I'm thinking body-wise, how does it feel for you to be able to kind of glide or fly for a moment and not crash and burn?
Jumping is what I love. I love flying through the air. But one thing that hits me almost every day when I come to work is that no matter how I'm feeling physically tired or injured or what have you, that moment at bar when we first do pliés and the first thing in the morning, my mind is blank. And I just feel alive. And I feel like everyone has some aspect of their life, whether that's listening to music or reading their favorite book, that's where it takes them. It takes them, into the present. And to get to access that every day, I think is a huge gift.
And I will say, as a child, I did that as well.
Yeah.
Bar work, and it is very centering. Mm-hmm. It's almost meditative.
Yeah.
Except for when you got spanked, which my teacher liked to do.
Oh, it's terrible.
She liked to whack you if you weren't in the right position a little bit. I guess nowadays that couldn't happen.
Sadistic.
It's nice because you start over. You have to start over. Every day you have to come as you are and be who you are at that moment and just start over.
And how does it feel for you as well to move your bodies in ways? You said you take it for granted, but there must be some exhilaration to it.
Certainly.
I mean,
And
we've got footage of you, and were you the main dancer, or were you the skeleton in Ma Maison?
yes.
Yeah, we've got some footage of you. I think talk a little bit about just how it feels to use your body. And
I think when you have a gift, when you get to exercise it, you feel realized. Your body, your mind, your soul kind of all comes together in one. And so when you have an experience and you live your life in a way that is always accessing your true gifts, it is exhilarating. Each member of the company has a very unique way of dancing and moving and things they love and things they don't like. And for me, like I love especially that piece of Ma Maison because I get to just sort of let my body go in a way that is very natural for me and fulfills a deep part of myself.
Will you be staying in Boise? What's your long-term goal, or do you think that way even? Do you think?
I think to the chagrin of some members of our board of directors, I've never been one to come up with a 5-year plan. I think one of the hallmarks of the company is that we're nimble, and as new opportunities come our way, we're able, if it fits in with the ethic of what we do, we're able to take advantage of things as they come our way. So, I mean, we're certainly not interested in transplanting the company to a new city. We're invested here for a reason, and we're able to achieve something here we can't achieve in other places. If there were a different evolution, it would be something probably besides dance, but that's not in the short term for sure.
Great. Well, thank you for staying for this additional WebEx so we can learn a little bit more about what goes behind what you do. I appreciate it very much. You've been listening to a Dialogue Web Extra with members of the Trey McIntyre Project. I'm Marcia Franklin. Thank you.